Welcome back to Journey of Truth. I'm your host, Kimberly Janelle. This is the podcast where we dig deep into the experiences that shape us, break us, and ultimately make us stronger. I'm so glad you're here today because we're diving into a topic that's essential to everything we do, every relationship we build, and every success we chase. The road to self-love. Now, I know the word self-love get thrown around a lot. It can sound like this fluffy idea that's all about bubble baths and feeling good mantras, but self-love is so much more than that. It's a journey, a real and sometimes painful, but yet deeply rewarding journey. Today, we're going to talk about why self-love is so challenging, the signs that we're lacking it, and some ways to start cultivating it in a meaningful way. So let's jump right in. Why self-love feels so hard. First, let's talk about why self-love can feel so challenging. You think loving ourselves would come naturally, right? But for so many of us, it's the hardest thing to do. The world we live in often sets us up to believe that we're not enough. We're constantly bombarded with messages, sometimes from our families, sometimes from society, sometimes even from ourselves, that we need to be more, do more, and look different to be worthy of love. It's no wonder that we're our own worst critics. Self love requires us to go against that conditioning. It asks us to look at ourselves honestly and see both the beauty and the imperfections and accept all of it. It's about realizing that we are worthy, not because of what we do or how we look, but simply because we are. And that, my friends, is tough work. And here's a big truth: the journey to self love is rarely straightforward. Sometimes we think we've got it all figured out, then something happens, and suddenly we're doubting ourselves again. Self love is not a destination, it's a journey with ups and downs and a whole lot of learning along the way. Recognizing when self love is missing. Let's pause for a minute. How do you know when you're lacking self love? What are the signs? This part is important because a lot of times we don't even realize when our self love is running on empty. One big sign is constant self criticism. Do you have that little voice in your head that tells you you are not good enough? That you're not doing enough? If that voice is louder than the voice that says, hey, you are doing your best, then self love may be missing. Another sign is when we allow people to treat us poorly. If you find yourself accepting less than you deserve in relationships or even in friendships, it might be because deep down you don't feel worthy of more. That's a hard truth to accept, but acknowledging it is the first step toward change. And here's a common one: overworking and overcommitting. When we constantly say yes to everyone else's needs and neglect our own, we're telling ourselves, my needs don't matter. This can lead to burnout and resentment, and ultimately, it erodes our self worth. So, if any of this resonates with you, don't feel bad. The important thing is recognizing where you are so you can start moving forward. Remember, self love is a journey, and sometimes we don't recognize we're missing it until we feel completely drained. Building self love step by step. Now, let's talk about the steps we can take to build self love. Because no matter where you're starting from, you can cultivate it in your life. Step number one: get honest with yourself. The first step is honesty. You have to be willing to look at yourself without judgment. This means acknowledging your flaws, your mistakes, and your struggles, and letting go of shame around them. Write it all down if you need to, but don't hold back. Self love doesn't mean ignoring your imperfections. It means accepting them and believing in your worth. Step number 2, start small with self compassion. Self love doesn't mean you wake up one day and suddenly adore every part of yourself. For most of us, it's easier to start with self compassion. When you make a mistake, talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend. Remind yourself that it's okay to be imperfect. You never tell a friend that they are a failure for having a bad day. So why say it to yourself? Replace that critical voice with one thing, that's understanding and forgiving. Step 3, set boundaries. One of the most important acts of self love is setting boundaries. Boundaries tell others and remind you what you're willing to accept. When you set boundaries, you're saying, hey, I respect myself enough to protect my well being. Boundaries can be tough to enforce, especially with people close to us, but they're essential for maintaining a healthy relationship with yourself. Step number 4, celebrate your small wins. It's easy to focus on what you haven't accomplished, but part of self love is learning to celebrate the small things. Every step you take on this journey matters. Did you practice self compassion today? Celebrate it. Did you say no to something that didn't serve you? Celebrate it. These small wins build up over time and strengthen your sense of self worth. Step number 5, prioritize self care. Self care is more than just pampering, it's about doing things that nourish your body, your mind, and soul. Take care of your health, take time to rest, and engage in activities that make you feel alive and connected to yourself. Self care is a commitment to yourself, a way of saying, I matter. Part number 4, embracing the journey. Remember, the road to self love is just that, a road. It's not a quick fix, and it's not always easy. But with every step you take, you're building a foundation that will support you through anything life throws your way. One of the best things about this journey is that it's deeply personal. Your path to self love won't look like anyone else's, and that's okay. Some days you'll feel like you're making amazing progress, and other days you might feel like you're going backwards. Just keep going. As you walk this road, remind yourself that you're worthy of love, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You have a light inside of you, a strength that's uniquely yours, and the world needs you to shine. So take this journey with courage and with patience. The person you're becoming on this road to self love is someone truly, truly extraordinary. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Journey of Truth. Remember, the road to self love is one we all have to walk in our own time and in our own way. I hope today's episode reminded you that no matter where you are on this journey, you are not alone. If you found today's conversation helpful, don't forget to share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Let's keep inspiring each other to find our worth, love ourselves, and embrace the journey. Until next time, keep growing, keep going, and remember, you are enough exactly as you are.